Hey guys, welcome to Jack's Reading Corner. I am Jack, and so I was supposed to be off today, and I was all set to do a video, another day off video, but then that didn't happen because work called me as soon as I woke up and asked if I could come in because they were doing some spring cleaning, and I ended up spending most of the 4 hours dusting, actually just dusting. So this video is kind of an update on my reading life and also what I'm gonna be reading tomorrow because I do get tomorrow off. So and actually I was gonna so unfortunately Wednesday my reading kind of fell through because I took some cold medicine, and I don't know if I'm going to take any tonight or not, because I'm feeling alright. I mean, my nose is still congested, and you probably still can't understand me 100%, but, I took some cold medicine that, Tuesday night, so I was still feeling kind of the effects on Wednesday, so I got up at my usual time, but what ended up happening but of course as I talked about that video, we went to our tax appointment, and then when I got home I was all set to read, but then I just was feeling really tired and having trouble concentrating, and that's not good for a book like Count of Monte Cristo where you need to concentrate because one, the print is minuscule, teeny tiny print, and then also it was just very, it was just difficult. I was starting to, drift off and everything. So I didn't get any reading done. That was driving me nuts. I was so annoyed with myself that I didn't do any reading, but I just wasn't feeling it. I was not being able to stay awake to do any reading. And I want to be awake, so as much as I wasn't going to push myself, as much as it drove me crazy, and I was annoyed and mad that I didn't do any reading, that I wasn't feeling the reading, I'm not going to push myself. And then people on BookTube on here talk about it all the time, that if you're not feeling your reading, then don't feel pressure to read. It's not like in school where you have to read. We don't have to read if we don't want to. Yes, I have a Goodreads goal of 100 books this year, but that doesn't mean that it's going to be the end of the world. Although I will be disappointed if I can't meet that goal. So, and I would like to believe that now I don't have to worry about that anymore. Although, I just realized something. I should probably watch Supernatural this past episode tonight. Because I just found that my mom the cable bill has been driving her crazy. It is so daggone expensive. And she's the one that pays for it. So she's trying to figure out how to deal with it. Like either switch over to another cable company or something like that. Or maybe get rid of a lot of channels. So they finally negotiated, so tomorrow for 24 hours, so tomorrow I think we're going to be losing cable tomorrow, so I won't even be able to go on the internet. So I think what I'm going to do, want to do tomorrow is I'm going to do a lot of reading and try to focus on my writing, and then I also can watch my DVDs, so. But I think I should probably watch the Supernatural episode tonight. The good news is only 24 hours. And we're getting more channel, and we're gonna get more for our buck kind of thing, which is really awesome. So let's talk about what's going on. So I think I'm at the halfway point. Well, actually, no. It looked like it at first, but no, I don't think I'm at the halfway point. I think I'm close. Halfway point of Hero of Ages, the last book in the Mistborn, the first era. And so much is going down, and I'm very, I can never, it doesn't feel at all I feel like you don't know what's going to go down in Brandon Sanderson's books. You can't ever tell. And I feel so proud of myself that I'm reading a book this size. Because it's, like I said, as I've said in the past, I've read Dragonlance books before, and those books are the same size as this, so maybe a little bit bigger, and I was able to read those, and I guess I didn't think about, I just read them. So now, and I think I focused too much on YA for so long, and I still love YA, and I will always defend it for people who are like, oh, YA is just for teenagers. I will still totally defend it because I still enjoy it. It's fun. Although, ironically, I do have a YA book that I'm kind of DNFing. I might. I don't know if I'll continue it or not, but I think there might be other reasons why I'm just not feeling it right now, but I will get to that in a minute. So, like, a lot is going on, and the characters have changed so much. And I want to be an author myself someday. I want to write a book, but first of all, I can't discipline myself apparently to focus and actually sit down and write. And it's my own fault. I have no one to blame but myself for that, So I can't, which is really frustrating. I can't get mad at anyone, and I can't even get mad at people that I'm surrounded by who are writing books. And like my dad's writing a book too. Of course, it's totally opposite of what I want to write, but I can't really get mad at him because it's my own fault. That's just it's so frustrating because I know that I can do it. I know I can discipline myself to do it. I just choose not to sometimes. Most of the time, because it's just so much easier not to sit down and get lost in, and it's hard to take the time and write, and which, of course, some people will say, well, then, if you can't do that, maybe you don't want to be a writer, maybe you really don't want to, and I really do, it's just, have the patience, and, because I have these periods where I am writing, I come up with ideas and stuff, and I can come up with stuff, but then there are so many distractions around me. And unfortunately, the bookstore is getting closed tomorrow, so I can't go to Gibbons. But I would love to go to Books A Million and tomorrow, even if I can't bring my laptop with me, and I can't use because there's no place in that, because that's a smaller Books A Million, there's no place to sit and work, which is kind of annoying. But anyway, like, it's so frustrating because that cafe is so convenient and close. But we live in a community where they're big on church. And they want to be like, oh, okay, Sunday is the day of rest. Let's just chill and stuff like that. And even though Aberdeen has a lot of places that are open, it's not like I can, there's no places where I can. But anyway, so much has changed, and the two main characters, Ben and Ellen, have grown up so much and have changed so much. I mean, they're both still thinking, they both have their issues and insecurities. Like, Ellen does not like now that he has to be much more hard-hearted and sometimes make these really tough decisions. And he's having trouble because he was an idealist for so long. And then Ben still is uncertain, sometimes still questions things as well. But mostly, she's the one who I think has grown the most. But I think that is partly because she has had more time to have faith in, gain confidence in herself. But this trilogy is so good for fantasy fan, so good, and and like I said, my goal is to finish it by June. Hopefully that will happen, because I don't want to, as I've said in past videos, I don't want to bring this book with me on the cruise, and I don't want to have it, waiting while I'm away for, 8 days. It doesn't seem like much, but for me, I still feel like, I have to get back into it. I don't like having it sitting there waiting for me, which is a bit ironic, because there are some times where all of a sudden I decide, okay, I want to read a different book now. And it will be years, but if it's but in this case, I don't want to have it sitting there for 8 days having not been read, but at the same time, I don't want to bring it with me on the cruise. Because I want to bring other books with me on the cruise. I might have to limit to either 2 or 3 books, though. Because, it's not like I'll have a lot of time, because there'll be all these activities that we're going to do. We'll stop places, maybe do a little bit of shopping, go to a beach, you know. But there will be times I will read, and I think what I'm gonna do when I go on that cruise is instead of taking a purse, I might just put all my purse like things in a bag, in a different bag, and just carry that, and then put a book in that bag, and then have, or I don't know, I'll figure it out. I still got 2 months to go, so, well, 3, counting this month. So yeah, I'm probably gonna read some more of this tomorrow. And I really should read another mystery, like, which I kind of did, start on. But before I get to that one, I'm still reading Count of Monte Cristo, which, I mean, there's no way I'm gonna get this done by June, because, I mean, look at this hunker of a book. There's no way. Even if I read for 24 hours, like tomorrow, which that could be, like, I could do exactly what, I could be like, Reagan and do 24 hours of reading, which would be pretty impressive if I can do that. But, I mean, it's not like we're gonna get our cable back anytime soon, but I can still watch movies and play music. I just can't watch TV. So I've started reading, in this one, I'm at the part when Edmond Dantes, he's in the prison in the Chateau d'If, and, he has met the priest, and, is learning about how smart this guy is, and how he's made all these, these modern inventions so he can write things down and work on stuff. He has all these little projects going on, and he has, like, so much strong faith, and him and Edmund are kind of bonding and stuff, and talking philosophy and bonding and stuff. And I know that from the movie he does eventually start teaching Edmond, who is not, because, like, back in this day, Edmund is just a sailor, so he doesn't have higher education, and his father is not very well, they're poor, so he doesn't have a lot of education. He has enough, of course he can get by, and he learns about, and he knows, of course, how to be a sailor and stuff like that, and which I think they kind of foreshadow his escape a little bit with the whole talking about he's able to hold his breath and swim for a long time and swim underwater. I think that's kind of a foreshadow of what's going to happen. But the only reason, is because I know the story. I haven't read, this is my first time reading the book, but I've seen the movie, so I know what's going to happen. What is great about this movie, and why I also say that this would be a great television series, is there is so much in here. It's not just about this guy getting framed for being, a Bonapartist and going to jail because the other guy, wants his lady love and everything, and he escapes, and he plans on getting his revenge on the guy. It's not just about him betraying the identity of the Count, but it's also, like, it's about when Napoleon tried to take over France. That's a major part of the story. And of course, with that, and of course, in a book, yes, they drag out the scenes where characters are learning and training. But in movies, of course, they have the montage where you just see everything all in one scene, and you have the music going on in the background. And in this case, it's more instrumental because it's historical fiction. But I love the political intrigue, and, I like historical politics. I don't care for reading about modern politics, because I'm living that. I don't want to read about it. I want to escape. So if I'm going to read about politics and war, I want to, read about the historical versions of it, not the modern stuff. That's why I love historical fiction so much, in classics. Because, for instance, Crime and Punishment was kind of about, politics. I mean, it wasn't the main plot of the story, but politics and philosophy was kind of involved in the story. And my dad was saying in Crime how it kind of influences the story of how it kind of influences how Dostoevsky writes how he would have wrote Crime and Punishment. Whoever was, if the country was a communist country, or if the czar was in charge of Russia, was running the country. Was a czar? In case you don't know, he's like the king. I mean, so it kind of played, politics kind of played a part in that story too. And of course the whole legal system was involved in that one. But this one, this one is definitely, politics definitely plays a part. And so and let's see, what was going on with, okay, well, that's, as of today, so I already talked about what was going on with Belfort, and his dad was a Bonapartist, and that's part of, Dantes had that knowledge without realizing it, and that I know from the movie that's gonna bite him in the ass, bite Belfort in the ass, because of course with everything Edmund is gonna learn, and I'm guessing that he's gonna find out this information. I think we're gonna actually see him, read about him finding out about Belfort and his father, and find out all the pieces that can help him get revenge on the 3 people who were involved in getting him arrested in the first place. I think we're definitely, in the book, I'm guessing we're going to see that more in the book than in the movie, because in the movie, of course, it's a 2-hour movie, so they can't include everything. I mean, look at this book, it's over 1,000 pages, so they can't include everything in a movie. Most movies are 2 hours long, and I know, Lord of the Rings, and a lot of James Cameron's movies, apparently, are pretty, over 3 hours. I mean, not our 3 hours, maybe a little bit over. But I think it depends. I mean, if a movie's exciting enough, if the story's exciting enough, it's in a lot of action and suspense and, a lot of things that people would be really interested in. I think that's probably, if it's something that will interest people, it has to be interesting throughout and exciting and fun and thrilling throughout the whole time, that people would be willing to sit through a 3-hour movie. Because, I mean, eventually, you have to get up and go to the bathroom. If you bring stuff in to eat and drink, you're going to have to go to the bathroom, and you might fall asleep in the movie theater, so that's what my mom does. She falls asleep in the movies if she's not interested. So I'm going to read a little bit more of this. I'm in the middle of chapter 17, but today, it was one of these days where, so, like I said, they called me to go in, and I was tired and everything. I was still kind of tired for being on my feet for 4 hours. But then, after work, so in our store, they actually sell beer and wine, so you can get beer and wine in our store. You don't have to go to a separate liquor store to get that. And they also have a bar in there. And so, we were waiting for my dad's prescription. I ended up getting a glass of Moscato, because that's the only wine I really drink. I drink sangria too. I'm very, I like the sweet wines, the really sweet wines. The wines that are basically, it's like you're drinking fruit punch or something, which can be dangerous, especially if you're inexperienced. I mean, I'm not inexperienced anymore, but, I don't drink a lot of wine. So I was, definitely feeling slightly not exactly tipsy, but definitely a little more lightheaded and tired. The tiredness just hit me because, of course, that alcohol makes you a little lethargic. If you're not tipsy or drunk, you're at least really, really tired. So I just came home, and I wasn't gonna go for my run, my daily run, but I did. I went at 5, but I essentially got through only a couple pages of chapter 17, where we are finally in the priest's cell, and he's showing Edmund his inventions and everything. All the things he made, he made a writing utensil, and showing, he was talking about, where is it? He talked about, he made a watch that kind of connects with the movements of the sun and earth. And of course he knows how, he still kind of believes that the sun moves around the earth, but of course we know now, and I'm guessing the priest knows, that the earth revolves around the sun, I think. So he's talking about that and showing him all these cool things, and it's so like I don't know if it has to do with my maturity level or what, or maybe I think it's partly to do with that I choose to read this when I'm not tired and I can concentrate more on what I'm reading. Of course, and I think it could also have to do with the fact that I'm much older and my brain, and I think our brains are always evolving, especially and I think especially as readers, I think the more we read, the more our intelligence grows in our mind and the way we understand and comprehend things. So I think that probably helps too. That I'm like the first time I attempted to read this, I've like changed. Like my mind, the way my mind works has changed and altered. So now I'm a little bit more prepared for a book like this. It still takes me forever to read a book this size, and plus my tastes I think have evolved and changed over the years. Like, and I think I'm getting a little restless with some of my reading when I'm reading YA books now. And I think that's partly to do with BookTube as well, because BookTube, one of the negatives of BookTube, it's both a negative and a positive, I think, for readers on BookTube, is that you're not only you're aware of more books, but you are aware of the flaws in a lot of books. So it can be a positive because it helps you just figure out what's a book that you're more interested in, what's a book that you can really love and enjoy and get into, and makes you aware of what you don't like in a book. And also you find that there are other people that feel the same way about books like you do. You are more aware of those people. But it can also be a bad thing, a negative, because the awareness can kind of be stressful and make you stop enjoying other books. Now, of course, this is your choice. The people on BookTube we're not forcing anyone to feel this way. But because you're more aware, and because I think BookTube does influence a lot of readers that watch the BookTube, that it can be kind of stressful. Because it's like it just makes you so aware. And I'm trying to formulate what I'm trying to say here. What I want to say. It makes you almost too aware, too overexposed. Which is my other issue. Why I think I'm falling out of Sarah J. Maas, out of love with Sarah J. Maas and YA. Because I'm so overexposed to it and I know so much about it, and I see its flaws now because people on BookTube have told me, pointed the flaws out to me and shown them to me. And it's like, look, see how a lot of young adult books have love triangles, for instance. Now, not all YA books. Like, Elliot Brooks read this article talking about why this person did not like YA, the YA category. And it's like, she pointed out some things that weren't entirely wrong, but then at the same time, it's like, you could, like, one of her things was, YA is always the same, all their stories are the same, a lot of authors will do the same type of thing, like, especially when things like Hunger Games or Harry Potter, how they're so popular, so a lot of authors will do that. And it's, but truth be told, adult book authors that write adult books do the same thing, like, a lot of thrillers follow kind of the same formula. A lot of fantasy has a bit of a formula too, Although, and I will still read YA fantasy, because it doesn't have as much of a formula as like romance or a thriller will have a formula. It's like the formula can be kind of hidden by all these other things. And you have authors like Brandon Sanderson who are trying to change it up. But anyway, so I'm gonna read a little bit I'm gonna read some more of this tomorrow, and I probably should read a lot of this tomorrow, especially if we don't have cable tomorrow, including the internet. So I'm gonna have to message Terry tomorrow Um, so anyway, so I'm gonna read this tomorrow, and I will get to let me finish up telling you guys the books that I'm definitely gonna read tomorrow, and then I will explain. And this is kind of connected to what I just said about young adult and how I'm kind of falling out of love with it. So I said earlier that I kind of mentioned that I should read another mystery this month, and I feel like this is a mystery because it's basically you have these group of people. Oh, I just realized the woman who wrote um, Station 11 blurbed this book, and I just read Station 11 earlier this year, back in January. So this kind of mystery because basically this group of this first of all we kind of start in the present where this guy was in prison for a murder, and the detective who was on the case back then is not so sure if he really believes this guy that he was actually the one who did it back then. He doesn't believe anymore, or he at least wants to know the story of why this guy's so adamant, what really happened back then. So he is telling this detective who is retiring, I think in the present, tells him the story of how it happened. So like, and that's why it's because someone gets murdered, and we're trying to figure out who's the murderer, and why do people think it was our narrator. And people compare this to Secret History, and I think because it has a similar plot to The Secret History, where, like, it's first like you got a group of eccentric students who are obsessed with this one very passionate obsessed with this one thing, and in this case, it's theater, particularly Shakespeare theater, and one of them, and they decide to murder, and one of their own gets murdered, and it's about, but in this one, I think, like in that one, once you read Secret, you kind of know who did it. You don't know in the beginning, of course, but in The Secret History, you kind of know. And our main character, whose name is Richard in that one, and there's a character named Richard in this one, but he's not nice like the Richard in A Secret History. And he's not the main character. Oliver is the main character in this one. He doesn't commit the murder. He's kind of caught in the middle in that story in A Secret History, and it's him kind of observing these people, and it's more about not who committed the murder. It's about why and kind of the how and the aftermath of it. This one is about who did it and the why. Like I said, I mean, they both kind of are about the why, but like I said, it's also A Secret History was also about the aftermath, and like I said, we know who did it. So, and what I really love about this one, and what I love about this is, and I think this aspect of it is something that would make it a story that not everybody would love, and that's the whole Shakespeare theater, theater kind of thing. Because I wanted, even though I'm not as into Shakespeare, so as especially these people are, I am intrigued by like some of his plays. And I'm a thespian. I'm part of the theater community. I haven't done any theater in years, but in high school I was a thespian. So that's kind of part of why I liked it. And I do agree, I'm sure it will be really good on audiobook because of all the Shakespeare quotes that are involved in the story. It would definitely make it even better to hear it on audio. But I don't have audio because audio can be just expensive or more expensive than a paperback or a hardback book. So it's like, and so far I've just been settling with that. I've asked for some audiobooks for last Christmas. I had asked, and this Christmas I'm asking as well, or maybe for my birthday. But anyway, like I want to get Lord of the Rings on audiobook because if I can't read the book, I want to at least try to read the audiobook. Listen to the audiobook, I should say. but really, apparently, really, like, it's important to clarify that you're not actually physically reading the book when you get an audiobook, you're listening to it. And I think that's why people assume, oh, that's not reading, because you're not actually staring at the pages and reading the words like this. When you're listening to an audiobook, you're just listening to someone else who's actually doing the reading. It's like, does that really make a difference? You're still reading a book, you're just hearing it. You're not actually doing the physical act of reading the words yourself. Someone else is reading them to you. But how is that not reading? I don't get that, because, I mean, like, I can't remember who it was, but, you know, there were a couple people, there were 2 people I know who said this in their video, that if you say, oh, that's not really reading, if you're listening to an audiobook, then it's like, what about the people who can't see? What about the people that are blind? What about people, like, have disabilities that makes it difficult for them? Or people that, like, have things where they can't hold a book in their hands, or, like, they can't see. So what? You know, they're not reading? It's so stupid that people say that because you're listening to an audiobook. Like, the only difference is you're not physically doing the act of reading the book. Someone else is reading it to you, but you're still absorbing the story. You're just absorbing it in a different way. You're absorbing it through someone else's voice. That doesn't mean it's not reading. To me, that it's just, I'm one of those people who's so annoyed by people that are like, if you're listening to audiobooks, that's not reading. And, you know, actually, at first I thought Steve Honeydew, because I was watching his videos where he was saying, well, you're technically not reading when you're listening to an audiobook. But then I think he meant you're, like, as in you're not physically doing the reading. I don't think he meant that it didn't count. I think he just meant that you're not doing the physical act of it. That's the only difference, is you're not physically staring at the pages, reading the words, either out loud or in your head. Someone else is doing it for you. But anyway, so I'm on part 2 of the story, where Oliver just got out of prison, and we're still telling the story, and we've kind of established, like, I kind of have a guess who's going to be the victim, who's going to be the one that's going to be murdered, but I don't know for sure if it's going to be this character. But, it's kind of established that there's some tension in the group, to the point of where it could get violent. And Oliver is starting to realize how, like, naive and oblivious he is. So he's kind of like Richard in that way. That he's oblivious and naive to his friends and who they really are. Like who his true friends are. So, and I kind of like that it's set up, like, in scenes, and then in between the scenes, when they get to the dialogue, the author sometimes, not all the time, which is a little weird, but sometimes what the author did was he would put the lines. No, I don't know if ML Rio is a man or not. I'll have to look the author up, and see if ML is a man or a woman. But like, the author has it where the dialogue is sometimes the dialogue is kind of written like a script, like script dialogue. But I noticed that sometimes the book goes to like regular dialogue, like you find in a regular novel, which is kind of like, oh, okay. Like, but I don't know, maybe the author puts the dialogue in script form for, like, the book's not written like a script. Like, it's written like a regular novel, but let me see if I can find an example. Like, I should say Act 2, not Part 2. I'm trying to... It doesn't have it, but basically that, you know, how on a script you have the character name, and then you have the colon, and then the line. Well, it's kind of like that. It's kind of written like that. But not all the dialogue. Sometimes it goes to regular novel dialogue. It's very weird. So I like it, but then it's like, when they don't do, he or she doesn't do it throughout the whole thing, it's like, oh, So the last book that I think I'm gonna start tomorrow, well, I've already started it, is I'm gonna get back into reading I Captured the Castle by Dodie Smith. Oh, and also Revival by Stephen King. I'm gonna get back into that. I think I'm gonna read that a little bit tonight before I go to sleep. But yeah, that is like essentially that one. Well, let me finish talking about this one first. This is which I didn't really have any idea, but I'm even more intrigued to read this book when I heard about it. So this is a new book I got from the used bookstore, but I still haven't taken this out. But see, you can tell it's used. It's an used copy. But anyway, so this is essentially these two sisters and their father, and they live in a ruined castle. And these people, the original owners, I think, come back to reclaim the castle. And I think our narrator and the son of one of the original owners have a romance, which that got me. I was like, oh, I did not know that. Because as much as I'm like, I don't like reading the romance genre, as I've said this a million times, I still like my romance in my stories. You know, I like it when there's a romance plot in the story. I just don't want it to dominate the plot. I mean, unless, you know, if it's a book like this, and yeah, I'm not as, you know, against that. Like, if it's a fantasy, then yeah, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get to the, you know, fantasy conflict. And I don't want the fantasy to conflict to the fantastical conflict to be, oh, the girl falls in love with a mysterious immoral guy. And yes, I'm kind of thinking about Twilight when I say that. Because as much as I am a Twilight fan, I was a Twilight fan back in the day, and I still have a soft spot for it, and still I get mad when people make the joke that everything is still a better love story than Twilight. But anyway, so I definitely got really excited about this book, you know, because, and actually, this is the same, Dodie Smith is the same author who wrote the 101 Dalmatians, the book that the Disney movie is based on. And I never read that book though. I know that Murphy Napier's just read that book recently, because she loves reading children's classics. Her and Leslie from Words of a Reader, which by the way, I wonder if she's still making videos. I need to look at her channel and see if she's still making videos, because it seems like I haven't seen any of her videos lately. But I mean, it could be a situation like how Peter Mon, I'm sure, I guarantee he's making more videos. I just haven't been watching their channels as much because I've discovered how you can favorite certain channels. Not that, I mean, of course, you know, I love you know, I enjoy those channels too. But anyway. But let's face it, Peter Mon doesn't read the same stuff I like to read. I just like him as a person, you know? I hate when this happens. I hate when I'm talking too much, and then there's a tickle in my throat. And it makes me feel the urge to cough. But anyway, so I gotta read more of this, as you can see. I have read a little bit of it, but I haven't gotten very far. But I want to start reading this one. Okay, so let's talk about my DNFs. Okay, so I don't have them on my possession, but I think I'm gonna, first of all, I'm gonna DNF, I don't know if I'm gonna come back to this book or not, but I think I'm gonna DNF The Vanishing Throne. I might come back to it, I might not, and I mean, of course, I did do that thing. See, this is what I do. When I go to the Gibbons bookstore, and, you know, it doesn't sell, like, the popular books, the mainstream books. I mean, it does and it doesn't. So I can't get, like, a Sarah J. Maas there, you know, or a whole series or anything like that. So, so, like, so what I usually do is I find books I'm interested in that intrigue me, and I look them up on Goodreads to see, because I still try not to buy a whole bunch of books, even though it's a used bookstore, so the most expensive book is like $5. But still, I mean, I don't have you know, I still try to limit myself And I look on Goodreads and decide, okay, am I really interested in this book? What do other people say? I look at their reviews, and I don't just go to the average rate. I actually look at reviews and read the 3 to 2 to 1 star reviews, because I don't read the positive reviews because what would be the point? I mean, granted, the positive reviews might still tell you something, but I would rather read the negative reviews because, especially 3-star reviews. So that's what I usually do. So what I decided to do is, because I was thinking about DNFing, I also use those reviews to justify if I'm thinking about, and make me feel better about my consideration to DNFing a book. So I was reading The Flight of Gemma Hardy, which is a retelling of Jane Eyre, and in the beginning it was pretty good. It followed the story pretty well. It's just set at the end of the 50s into the 60s. And it was good, but it was decent and everything. But then when Gemma gets to gain the job, in this case, not Thornfield, but it's not called Thornfield, it's Blackbird, and she meets the ward, who is actually his niece, not his, and, then we are introduced to the Rochester figure, who is Mr. Sinclair, and it's just, he didn't feel very, I know it's a retelling, it doesn't have to be carbon copy of the character, I'm not asking for that, but he just felt, not very interesting, not compelling at all, he just felt like a generic guy, there wasn't anything special about him, and there was no, Rochester, one of the things that's unique about him as a character is he's not a perfect specimen of a human being. He's very bitter and angry at the world and feels like he's owed something and is kind of a little cantankerous and grumpy and and he could potentially be abusive if he lost his temper. He's so fascinating and compelling, and no, he's not boyfriend goals, but he's definitely not. But he's still a very intriguing character. That's what makes him so interesting and so fascinating in his romance with Jane. And he's also not shallow. He's the opportunity to marry this pretty, beautiful woman, and then he realizes, of course, that she's no better than the rest of the women he's encountered. And he falls in love with Jane, who's described as very plain and very normal. She just has a lot of strong convictions and moral views, and will always stick to her principles. That's what I admire about her character. And Mr. Sinclair just didn't. He's kind of boring, and their romance just all of a sudden happened. It just all of a sudden you could see that there was a developing attraction and everything, but all of a sudden it's like, wait a second, what just happened? It's like they're really into each other, or he's developed feelings for her. It's like the author kind of wanted to get it out there, and and kind of rushed. Was like, see, this is a Jane Eyre retelling. It's a little different, but still a Jane Eyre retelling. So let's just get it out there. And she kind of rushed it. And then when I looked on the reviews on Goodreads, I realized it gets worse. And Gemma has no connection to Jane at all. And it's just, what was great, and and I also was kind of like, it's one thing in the 19th century when the woman is very young and the guy is kind of an older man. It's one thing because that was perfectly normal back then. That was but now in the 1950s into the 60s, I wouldn't expect them to maybe age Rochester down a little bit, or I should say Mr. Sinclair down a little bit, but they didn't. He's still kind of a little old for her. And it kind of bothered me because it's a little different when it's in the 20th century versus the 19th century, where it was kind of normal. In the 20th century, that's when things started changing, and you were living a little bit longer. So it felt weird to me. So I decided to stop reading that. It's funny, when I was telling Terry from Florida about that, she said the same, she was like, the way you talk about it makes me, from the things you've said, and it doesn't sound like one that I would like either. So next, the other book I'm thinking about DNFing is The Vanishing Throne. I don't know if I'm going to continue with that trilogy or the Falconer trilogy or not. It's by Elizabeth May. I'm still debating if I want to continue or not because, like I said, this kind of has to do with what I talked about earlier with the whole YA thing, where I'm kind of falling out of love with the YA books. I mean, like I said, I still love YA, and I will still come back to it. But I'm not feeling the story anymore, and so I ended up going on Goodreads and looking at people's reviews at The Vanishing Throne. And there are a lot of positive reviews. A lot of people love it. So, a lot of people loved the first one too, but there were some people that were like, it's average and it's nothing really special. And of course, it has like certain elements that are kind of annoying about people that not everybody likes in YA. So I'm not sure. I'm still thinking about it. And I think part of the problem is I was like, okay, I want to get this done by May, because that's when my friends might come and visit me and for my 30th birthday, because 30 is of course a big thing, and it's looking less and less of a chance of happening, unless of course I go to Maryland and visit them. But I don't want to bring that whole trilogy to Maryland, just to give it to her. I would rather, but if I have to, then I will try to go see them. And just so far in the past, it hasn't worked. And I would also feel weird going to Maryland and not going to see my sister in Virginia. But anyway, I mean, I could ask her to one day meet us. I don't know, but anyway. So yeah, I might DNF that trilogy too. I don't know if I'll continue or not. It's a really nice. I like the cover though. These are really beautiful covers. I really like these covers. And I know there's a person on it, but you can't see the whole person. And the main character kind of made me think of Merida from Disney's Brave. She kind of reminded me of her. But when I'm reading it, I picture her looking like Karen Gillan and Damon Tennant as Kieran. But anyway, okay, I might still have to take some Benadryl. I don't know, the way my nose is acting right now. But anyway, okay, this video is getting too long, and I really hope this. But listen, so tomorrow I'm gonna read If We Were Villains, The Count of Monte Cristo, I Captured the Castle. Oh, I forgot, I'm also reading Revival tonight. I'm reading Revival tonight in bed. And then Hero of Ages. So, would love to know what you guys are reading and how your reading progress is going. And if you guys like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and click subscribe if you have not already subscribed. And I will talk to y'all later. Alright, bye!